Hello everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, I still remember very clearly the first day I met Emily, a heavily rainy afternoon, where the sound of rain falling steadily like a ghostly song. I sat in a small coffee shop at the end of the street, listening to the rain sounds coming from the glass door, trying to find a little peace after a long day of stressful work. And then she walked in. Her long black hair was soaked, her eyes were deep, her skin was pale as if she had never known sunlight. But what I could never forget was not her strange beauty, but the terrible truth I accidentally realized. Under the yellow light of the shop, her shoes were wet and stained on the floor, but there was no shadow. I thought my eyes were blurred. I tried to rub my eyes and look again, but the image was still the same. Emily smiled, a smile that made me both shiver and curious. I heard myself, for some reason, inviting her to sit at the same table. From that moment on, my life took a different turn, a path leading into darkness that I didn't know about. She spoke very little, her voice low and cold, like the wind blowing through the pine forest on a lonely camping night. Our conversation began with small fragments, a few questions, a longer than usual look, and an obsession that gradually invaded my mind. I didn't expect that, at that moment, I had stepped into a vivid creepypasta world, where every little detail could become the seed of a nightmare. In the following days, Emily and I met more often. Every time she appeared, she still kept the same mysterious, incomprehensible beauty, a beauty that made me both fascinated and uneasy. I told her about my childhood, about the nights home alone, in my parents' old house, where the darkness often turned everything into a monster. Emily listened, her eyes shining with an indescribable light, as if she had lived with that fear for a long time. I asked her about her family, about her past, but she just smiled and changed the subject. One evening, I walked Emily home after a walk in the rain. As we passed the streetlights, my heart ached again. My shadow stretched out on the wet cement floor, trembling with each step, and beside me, there was only emptiness. Emily had no shadow. I quickly turned away, pretending not to see, but fear had taken root deep in my mind. I told myself that it could just be the light, just the illusion of someone immersed in love. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. We were officially married after only 6 months of knowing each other. A decision that, looking back, I now realize was foolish. The wedding was small, in an old house near the suburbs. When the music started, I suddenly realized that I was the only one trembling in the room, while Emily stood there, cold and perfect. Friends came to attend. Many of them later whispered that they felt something haunted there, a feeling of being watched by invisible eyes. I brushed it all off, because at that time, I was too in love with Emily to listen to any warnings. On the wedding night, the rain pattered on the roof again. I lay next to Emily, listening to the rain sounds like a deathly lullaby. When I fell asleep, I dreamed that I woke up in another room, a dark room without light, where only the sound of footsteps was approaching me. I looked around in panic and realized that the walls were full of Emily's photos, all without shadows. I woke up with a start, cold sweat running down my forehead, and when I turned to look, she was still lying there, her face calm as if nothing had happened. During the days living with Emily, I began to realize that the house we lived in was gradually changing. The mirrors in the house often cracked inexplicably, reflecting distorted images of us. I no longer dare to look for long, because in the mirror, I once saw Emily smiling, while in real life, she was completely motionless. At night, the house echoed, with strange sounds, slow footsteps stretching through the hallway, a gentle knock on the door when we were both home, alone. I asked Emily. She only responded with silence, sometimes a deep look that made my spine shiver. Gradually, I could no longer distinguish between reality and dream. Every time it rained, every time the sound of rain fell, I found myself pulled into a strange memory, where Emily stood in the middle of the rain without a shadow, her deep black eyes staring at me. I began to fear my own house, fear the bedroom, where I once sought peace. I felt like I was lost in a haunted forest, where the light never shone. And then, one night, when I returned home late, I witnessed a scene that I could no longer deny. In the dimly lit living room, Emily stood there, facing the large mirror. She had no shadow, and in the mirror, her image danced, twisted, smiled eerily. I stepped back, my heart pounding, and then Emily turned her head toward me, her lips moving. Something I couldn't hear. I knew everything had just begun, and the real horror was still waiting for me ahead. Asterisk. Stay tuned for the next episode to see what happens as I start investigating the true past of this shadowless woman.